Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. We are going to have two public hearings this afternoon, and the first one is the proposed 2026 through 2027 operating budget request for Tompkins Cortland Community College, TC3. And if there's anyone that would like to speak on behalf of the public hearing, please approach the microphone. We'll wait a few seconds and see if there's anyone here. Okay, doesn't look like there's anyone here. I'm going to go ahead and close that public hearing and open up the next public hearing for the proposed local law number C of 2026, a local law allowing the county to continue holding virtual public meetings until July 15th, 2028. If there's anyone here that would like to speak on behalf of that, of the public hearing, please approach the microphone. Zach Wynn?
Hello. I remember this comes around every year, basically. I think I spoke in favor of it last time. I think also last time I suggested there be a slight modification to the rules as far as signing up. Right now you have to sign up at least 24 hours in advance, where the city of Ithaca has like a 3 p.m. cutoff. I know that would be, difficult for some of the meetings that are timed at different parts of the day. If somebody really wants to participate, normally nobody does. I think he'd want more people participating. So yes, I think it's a good idea, but please also modify that policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. And just for clarification purposes, this is specific to electeds being able to attend these meetings remote. But we certainly love it when our public comes, and we will take your words to heart. I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment for our public hearings if there's no one else. And I've got you, Andre. I have your blue card, and that'll be the next part of the meeting, okay? Okay, so I would like to close both public hearings. Welcome to the Tompkins County Legislature. It's Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. The time is 5:35. And if you could join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We're going to have a roll call of members, please.
Travis Brooks.
Here.
Randy Brown.
Here.
Deborah Dawson.
Here.
Judith Hubbard.
Here.
John Hunt.
Here.
Greg Mezzi.
Here.
Rachel Oslin.
Here.
Veronica Pillar.
Here.
Lee Shurtleff.
Here.
Mike Sigler.
Here.
Adam Vinson.
Here.
Dan Wakeman.
Here.
Irene Weiser.
Here.
Christy Bianconi.
Here.
Shauna Black.
Here.
And Iris Packman has asked to be excused.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we do have one proclamation for the evening, and it's in recognition of Disability Pride Month. And I'm just going to read a few of the paragraphs from that proclamation. Whereas disability is a natural part of the human experience, and whereas over 1 in 4 adults in New York State have some sort of disability as of 2022 data from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, with that fraction rising among low-income adults and older adults, and whereas Disability Pride Month is celebrated in July in the United States to commiserate the signing of the ADA into law on July 26, 1990, and whereas the theme of 2026 Disability Pride Month is "The World Works Better With Us," emphasizing the inclusive access measures developed by and for disabled people, such as curb cuts and voice-to-text technology, consistently improve experiences for all, and resolve that the Tompkins County Legislature does hereby proclaim the month of July 2026 as Disability Pride Month. And we will make sure that that signed proclamation gets to the organizations locally that represent. Thank you. Next, if it's all right with everyone, I wanted to see if we could reorder some business. Terry has a sick family member at home, and I would like to move up Resolution X, which is in regards to the geothermal. I would like to move it up right past the chair's report. That's all right with everyone? Okay. We will not have an executive session this evening. And why don't we go ahead and start with privilege of the floor. So far, we have 2 speakers this evening. And I just want to read the rules really quickly. I know that both of you have spoken before, but we'll just go through the rules real quick. I agree to a 3-minute time limit. Number 2, I agree not to raise my voice. Number 3, I agree not to use lewd, obscene, profane, slanderous, or libelous language, or speak or act in a manner that would tend to incite a breach of the peace. Number 4, I agree not to speak about county personnel matters. Personnel matters include comments about the job performance of named county employees other than elected officials. Number 5, after 3 minutes, I agree to leave the microphone and yield the floor. Transferring time to another person is not permitted. Number 6, I agree to be courteous and not make comments, gestures, outbursts, or other disruptions while other members of the public or legislators are speaking. And number 7, I agree that if I cause a disruption and am asked to leave, I will leave the chambers. First speaker is Zach Wynn.
Good evening. On July 2nd, a Tibetan man named Labga Rangzen went to the United Nations headquarters in Manhattan, where he live streamed an appeal for Tibetan independence and expressed anger over the Chinese government's policies towards Tibet. He placed a Tibetan flag on the sidewalk and then lit himself on fire. He was pronounced dead a short time later. I thought this act was worthy of mention, as July is the month we as Americans celebrate our independence from a hostile foreign power, and Tompkins County contains the seat of the Dalai Lama's presence in North America. There's also the reality that this town relies on Chinese money. From the more than 20 colleges in China that partner with Cornell, to the thousands of Chinese students who study here in Ithaca, paying taxes and enjoying all the freedoms this country offers. Imagine if Germans had been invited to study at Cornell during the Holocaust. What is occurring in Tibet is ethnic cleansing and deliberate extermination of the Tibetan culture. In the past, this body has taken public stances on both national and international issues. I would like you to all consider passing a resolution in support of the Tibetan people, stating that Tibet is a free nation separate from China, as is Taiwan, and that the systematic extermination of the Tibetan and Uyghur people is wrong. I recently visited the Asteri, and I can tell you it is a great deal cleaner than I have ever seen it. My friend I was visiting asked an interesting question: is it really Vecino's fault people are peeing in the stairwells and letting their dogs poop in the hallways? He did not seem to think so, and that Vecino may have gotten an unfair amount of blame. This is someone whose apartment has been burglarized and flooded 3 times. I learned that the Vecino Group is spending $5,000 a day to maintain security at the site for people 24 hours a day. 6 months of security at $5,000 a day works out to $885,000. How long can that go on, and what happens after it stops? There's also the issue of the cockroaches in the Asteri emanating from apartments where exterminators cannot gain access without the renter permission. It is my understanding that the cockroach infestation from the building has spread to adjacent businesses, the public library, and the roadway inn, where the county places people to live when they are homeless. This population's belongings are the vector of transmission, and this problem will continue to grow unless acknowledged and addressed. There is also a very large rat's nest next to the public library behind the TCAT bus stop that has been growing for more than 3 months since I first noticed and reported it. These rats are feeding at the Hotel Ithaca dumpsters, among other places. There is an in general increase in vermin in downtown Ithaca, with some county property affected. I have seen a roach on the TCAT, and I would be glad to send you a photograph if you'd like. I suggest the county health department and the city of Ithaca work together to create an integrated pest management policy that coordinates the response to vermin from all parties, private and public, instead of dealing with the issue in a piecemeal whack-a-mole approach that never truly addresses the root cause. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Also, if there are other legislators that would like to receive Zach Wynn's pictures, I am always happy to send those to all of you, including the cockroaches and the other things that are located in our community. So feel free to reach out to me. Let's see here. Our next speaker, Andre Barvinchik. Sorry, Andre, I know I butchered your last name there.
You pretty much said it right. It's just like a different country's accent. It's pretty much accurate.
Oh, okay. You know.
Check, check, check. Is this good?
You're good.
Okay. Just quick preface that's before I say this. When I initially started researching like the numbers with all the real estate subsidies and overall just the county affairs like about 2 years ago. I initially thought that it was really severe corruption because when you see the numbers, that seems like the most like parsimonious explanation that these people are, someone's getting paid like millions of dollars behind the scenes or something like that. That's what it looked like from the outside. But now that I've researched more, the past 2 years, like, researched quite a lot and talked to a bunch of elected officials at the city and county, I'm very convinced that it's not corruption, and it's like extreme complexity of bureaucracy that's like eating itself and strangling out society, basically. It's like the complexity of the bureaucracy is like destroying everything, and lack of a scientific rigor is part of the problem too, I'd say, but I don't think it's corruption. So anyway, okay. Last time I made a comment about how the city council, county legislator, and IDA have voted on and approved real estate projects that resulted in approval of roughly $450 million worth of free cash giveaways to for-profit real estate corporations, $450 million worth of tax dollars given as a free cash giveaway to for-profit real estate corporations. Mike replied later, and he said something along the lines of, the IDA does not have a pile of cash they're sitting on and does not give away cash. I'd like to address that comment. It's good to clarify the technical details. It's technically true. It's technically a true statement that the IDA does not have a literal pile of cash they're giving away. According to my research, this is how the funding mechanisms actually work. The city council, county legislator, and IDA vote on things like an RFP, aka request for proposal, as well as subsidies in the form of tax discounts. Technically speaking, the IDA approves tax discounts worth millions of dollars to for-profit real estate corporations. A cash discount versus outright cash are mathematically equivalent. If I go to the grocery store and someone gives me a voucher for a $10 discount, or they give me $10 cash right before I check out, that is mathematically equivalent. That's why I put the tax discounts in the larger category of free cash giveaways. That said, more importantly, the bigger funding mechanisms here beyond the tax discounts are actually an elaborate cascade of funding mechanisms that are set off from the initial voting. Funding mechanisms from state and federal subsidies in the form of cash grants and tax credits, which are traded literally directly for cash. Literal free cash giveaways in the most literal sense of the word, not just mathematically equivalent to free cash, but literally free cash outright. Actual free cash given as a gift to for-profit real estate corporations for about $450 million. Over the past 10 years or so. The initial local vote and local support is essentially the main factor that the state and federal grant offices use to determine if a local project qualifies for state or federal grants and funding or not. They correct the state and federal offices for grants. They correctly ask, did the local government in the sound vote to approve this project? Did the local government in the sound vote to approve tax discounts and financial benefits to incentivize this project? If yes, then that is the indication that the local government supports these projects as a community-oriented project, and therefore now this real estate project will also be approved for the cascade of state and federal funding mechanisms of cash grants and tax credits. So when the local government votes on a real estate project, it's the initial local support being voted on, and then that is directly a catalyst for further approvals of state and federal grants worth tens of millions, or in the case of Asteri, for example, $100 million of free cash giveaways to for-profit real estate corporations. All of those same funding mechanisms are legally allowed to go to nonprofit real estate organizations. In fact, many of the funding mechanisms were initially designed specifically for nonprofit organizations as the main application. The for-profit real estate corporations are basically taking advantage of a technicality in order to get approved for a massive cascade of funding mechanisms and a massive amount of free cash giveaways, when the same money could go legally to, and was designed to go to, nonprofit real estate projects. The for-profit real estate projects can pay full taxes to support local infrastructure, and the nonprofit real estate projects can get hundreds of millions of dollars of tax discounts and cash grants. That said, the nonprofit real estate ecosystem also has a lot of major problems, and we need very clear transparency, accountability, auditing, and very high standards of code enforcement, ethics, and quality for every single nonprofit organization in the area. If they get a penny of tax dollars as a grant or any type of tax discount whatsoever, they should be scrutinized by political economists, investigative journalists, county staff, and the elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Next is Sadia Doak.
Hello, everybody. So this week, I had found myself questioning Second Wind Cottages about where their money has been going that they have been stealing from the churches. And unfortunately, it has not been going to be utilized to the Women's House. And I questioned them, and Deb Wilkie then called CPS on me. And unfortunately, I spent the weekend in Tompkins County Mental Health Psych Hospital, which I just read my Bible the whole time, enjoyed my time. But unfortunately, my son went to Dryden Elementary School and said, hey, you know what? My relatives are sexually touching me. So I figured I was just protecting my child. But instead, me addressing money to people around here seems to be a threat. And I apologize if that's a threat. But last time I checked, it's just addressing money. Where's the money? That's all I've said. Nobody wanted to talk. Respectful. I don't need to talk. But to lose my child in the midst of that, I'm so disappointed. I'm a disappointed mother speaking to you right now. I am not Sadia at TC3. I am not Sadia down here at the fucking art house. I am Sadia Parker's mother. And I am disgusted at how this has went. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, are there any municipal officials here to speak? I do not see any. We are going to move on to legislator privilege of the floor. John Hunt.
Hi, I just wanted to mention to everybody of a program that allows free entry into the state parks, particularly during the hot days of summer. So you can go swimming, for instance, at Enfield Glen, where I like to go. If you're 62 years of age or older and you are a New York State resident, simply show your driver's license at the gate and they will give you a pass. You can then use that at any state park in the area for the remainder of the day as well. As a lot of people don't know that. You cannot use it on weekends or holidays, but during the week, the swimming area at Lower Treeman's open from 11 to 7.
Thank you, John. I have Travis, Judith, and Randy.
Just to share, we have a really robust AAU program at the GAC Recreation Center. Last year, our 9th grade boys became national champions in basketball in Florida. And about a month ago, our 6th grade girls who play in the 7th grade division went to Knoxville and became the 7th grade national champions for AAU, which is really cool, all comprised of local Ithaca girls. So it's really, really exciting. I just wanted to share and big them up.
Awesome. Next is Judith.
There's a new state program that allows the YMCA to offer free swimming classes for kids. So if anybody has any kids who need to learn how to swim to avoid drowning when they go to the lake, I strongly encourage you to look up the Y program. It really makes this accessible and affordable for local youth.
Thank you. Next is Randy.
Yes, thank you, Shauna. Newfield is having its Old Home Days Friday and Saturday. Friday's kind of more food and music, so Lions Club puts on a really good sausage and peppers, if anybody's interested in that. And there'll be a parade Thursday, which I'll be walking in as well as a lot of other people. The fire department, it's a big event. Hopefully they have good weather and everybody's welcome.
Thank you. Greg Muzzy.
Yeah, I just shout out to our arts community. I had the chance this past week to see the Hangar Theater's production of Dear Evan Hansen. I'm not sure if folks had a chance to go out and see that, but they did an exceptional job, exceptional. I've never seen the show on Broadway, but I have listened to the soundtrack for many years leading up to this moment. So it was a fun experience for me, but it was also a great reminder, and I think it highlights in our community the need to kind of see people as they are and where they are. The show opens with a line, Dear Evan Hansen, today is going to be a good day. But the show also ends with one, and I'll read the line. It's, Dear Evan Hansen, today's going to be a good day, and here's why. Because today at least, you are you, and that's enough. And I thought that was a great reminder for people, especially in a time of whatever time we're in or whatever time someone else is in at the moment, that you're enough. And it was great to see some of our local resources available around suicide prevention and crisis services out in the lobby, sharing that information with folks. So just wanted to lift up the staff at the Hangar Theater, the actors that participated in that, and then also our community resources for jumping on board and using that arts as an opportunity to connect and engage with the community. So just wanted to share that.
Thanks, Greg. I also was able to catch the Friday evening, and it was just like, it was breathtaking. I've seen it on Broadway, but it was really good at the Hangar. Next is Adam, and then Deborah.
On the topic of the arts, the Collegetown Community Collective has been hosting a concert series every other Saturday. I got to attend a showing of the Cast Iron Cowboys on July 11th. It was a great time. The next concert is going to be DJ Mateo and DJ Dijon on August 1st. So it's at the Collegetown Bagels in Collegetown. And if you're interested in showing up, it starts at 5 o'clock. It's open to everyone. It's free, good time.
Thanks, Adam. Deborah?
Yeah, thank you. Today, Shauna and I had the privilege of attending a presser with Senator Webb, Rob Cantomo, a representative from Anna Callis's office, my husband, the mayor, at the Y in the village of Lansing. And we were celebrating the $2.1 million grant that Leah got for us, got for the Y to expand its facilities to provide early education, childcare, mostly for kids K through, no, 6 months through kindergarten, yes, which is the most expensive childcare that our working parents have to pay for. So that was a great thing. Apparently, the Y has received several $1 million in various grants, and Christy Thornton, who's the relatively new director, has done a bang-up job of going out there and rounding up money. And they now have a capital plan of about $10 million of capital improvements, and they are going great guns. So it was very rewarding, and we are grateful to the senator, to Anna Callis, and to Governor Hochul. Thank you.
Thank you. Veronica?
I'm going to be a downer, so I'm sorry I didn't go earlier.
That's okay.
2 weeks ago on July 7th, in Houston, Texas, Lorenzo Salgado Araujo was driving a crew to work when ICE agents pursued and pulled him over and shot and killed him. He was 52 years old. The agents were acting on a tip they'd received that had nothing to do with Salgado Araujo. He was not the target of the operation, but he is dead. 6 days later, Juan Sebastian Guerrero was pulled over by ICE agents in the small town of Biddeford, Maine on July 13th. He was 25 years old. He was shot and killed. The ICE agents were serving a warrant that had nothing to do, again, with Juan Sebastian Guerrero, but he is now dead. His wife and 3-year-old daughter were on the scene and witnessed, very understandably, screaming and crying. We all know ICE agents murdered Renee Good and Alex Preddy in Minneapolis in January. And a lot of people are now living in fear, afraid to go about their daily lives because of what might happen to them without an applicable warrant, without an applicable tip even. They have real evidence that some of us, and depending what you look like, could simply be killed at any time for going about your business. The people are living in terror because our federal agents are waging a campaign of domestic terrorism. I don't know what else to call it when you're sowing terror through violence among people. And so in our little county legislature, in as much as we can protect people from this violence and from this terror, protect people's information, make our folks safe, I think it's our responsibility to do that. I'm not calling for a specific action now, but offering this framing that I've been thinking about and taking on.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other legislator? Okay. I am going to move on to the chair's report and the chair's appointment. I do have one appointment tonight. It is for the Workforce Development Board, Fred Swayze Jr., 20% requirement, labor organization apprenticeship, and his term expires June 30th, 2029. I would like to begin by recognizing an outstanding achievement by the staff at the Ithaca Tompkins International Airport. ITH has successfully completed its FAA Part 139 safety inspection with zero discrepancies. It's an exceptional accomplishment that reflects the airport's unwavering commitment to safety, operational excellence, and regulatory compliance. This achievement is a testament to the professionalism, dedication, and teamwork of the airport's operations, maintenance, Ithaca Airport Fire Rescue, and airport administrative staff. Their collective efforts ensure that our airport continues to meet the highest standards of safety and service for passengers, tenants, visitors, and our entire community. On behalf of the Tompkins County Legislature, I also want to extend our sincere congratulations and gratitude to the entire ITH team for their hard work and commitment. This success is something our community can be proud of. Tonight, we also pause to recognize a heartbreaking tragedy that has deeply affected our county. Our thoughts are with the family and friends and loved ones of Kayla Wood, age 37, and Dennis Davis, age 47, who lost their lives in a devastating house fire in the town of Dryden. We also acknowledge the loss of their two beloved pet dogs. Our hearts go out to all of those mourning their profound loss. During moments like these, we're reminded of the courage and compassion of the first responders who answer the call under the most difficult circumstances. I want to express our deepest appreciation to the members of our fire departments, law enforcement agencies, emergency medical personnel, doer personnel, and all those who responded to this incident. Their professionalism, dedication, and service to our community are deserving of our sincere gratitude. As a county, we celebrate these accomplishments that make us stronger and stand together in times of grief. Tonight, we honor both the dedication of those who serve our community every day and the lives of those who have lost. Thank you very much. Next, we are going to move on to Resolution X, and Terry Carroll is joining us here. Can I have someone move Resolution X to get it on the floor? Moved by Christy and seconded by Dan. And welcome, Terry.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for moving me up. I appreciate that. So this was a resolution that was discussed in F&I, and the committee asked us to provide a little bit more information. And so working with Norma, we were able to provide this side-by-side comparison between what would it look like to put in a traditional system, so replacing the boilers and some of the air handling units, as well as the VAV boxes, with the traditional fossil fuel equipment versus going with a district system. I hope you've all had a chance to take a look at that, and I just wanted to make myself available to answer any questions that you might have.
Were there any questions from legislators? Deborah?
What's a VAV valve?
A VAV box,
okay.
Variable air, forgetting what the exact acronym is, but essentially it's one of the pieces of the equipment that helps, create the conditioned air that then ends up in the different rooms. It's not it's essentially the water is flowing through it and then the air is being pushed out of those boxes into the room.
Thank you.
Randy?
Yeah, we talked about this quite a bit in the F&I meeting, and thanks for updating your report, and Norma for doing your side-by-side. Basically, what this is for the first phase, and correct me if I'm wrong anytime, Terry, the first phase of this project is roughly $2 million, and that's for the Center of Government building. And so what this is asking for the legislature to approve the county applying for a larger grant for another $2 million from the Community Development Fund, as well as other grants. So this would be a total cost of actually expanding the entire geothermal program to other buildings, this building as well as the other two buildings over here. And that cost would be an additional $5 million roughly. And so they're asking to apply for this grant to cover some portion of this. One thing that you mentioned, Terry, that if we're going to approve applying for this grant, it doesn't send a good message if we get down the road here and we apply for the grant, they give it to us and we decide that we can't afford it. So I just want to make sure that people understand that at some point later date, we may get these grants. And then we're going to have to make a decision again at that point. So.
Thank you, Randy.
Yeah, you're spot on, Randy. So we're basically, this resolution is required for us to go after this Climate Smart Community Grant. The grant would be requesting $2 million. It's a 50% match, so we'd have to be matching with $2 million of county funds. Right now, the total project cost is almost $5.3 million, so we'd be looking to come up with that remaining 1.3 after the match from other potential funds. So we'll continue to look for other sources of funding, but at the very least, this would be committing the county to at least $2 million in funding to meet that match.
Deborah?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we all understand that if we vote for this resolution, we're pretty much committing ourselves to spending that money down the road.
There have also been conversations in regards to asking our Assemblywoman and our state senator to provide some help with the funding as well. So we're waiting to hear back from them, but it does look pretty promising. Judith?
Just to emphasize, yes, we would be committing ourselves with a backdoor out if we really wanted it, but we don't want to choose to take the out. I will say it's a commitment of some amount of money. We don't quite know how much, especially with that news. But if we don't go with this route, there will still be costs associated with installing heating and cooling systems or maintaining the existing heating and cooling systems in the 3 buildings that this would serve, which in the document from NORMA is estimated at between $800,000 and $1.54 million. And so it's not like you can choose to not do this and not pay anything. There is a substantial cost that's going to be there no matter what. And this is, you have to consider that sort of as an either or.
Irene?
I'll just add further into the variable error, whatever it is. I don't know what the last letter is either. But part of what happens when you hook multiple buildings together is that you actually increase the energy efficiency of your system. Because, so for example, right now, it's not necessary to heat the other buildings in this quadrant, right? But it is important to heat here. And so we can take the heat that was used there and pull it into here. And so there are efficiencies that can be realized through the variable air handler to help increase the overall energy efficiency. And certainly, you know, this is sort of future proofing. This is where we're headed. This is where the country's headed. This is where everything's headed, is getting off of fossil fuels, moving to cleaner sources of heating and cooling. And so, I mean, I thoroughly support this, but I also, you know, I just want to explain why.
Randy?
Yeah, just, I think everybody may know, but we've done some test wells, and we've done a lot of, Terry's been working on this for 2 years. And what they found is that about 250 feet down, there was a huge aquifer of water. And so we're going to tap into that, bring that cooler water up to our buildings, run it through our buildings, and then put the water back down into the aquifer. So the DC has to approve this, so we're still waiting for that approval. They'll have to go through that. I think that, you know, I'm going to vote for this, but there is a backdoor, as Judith mentioned, if the sky starts to fall when we get that, and we may not get the grants as well. So those are unknowns for us. But I am going to vote for this.
Great. I am also really excited about this. We've been talking about doing this for years, and I know that we're trying to make all of our buildings less reliant on fossil fuels. So I'm glad that we can take this step. I do see it as a large investment into our future. Also want to thank Norma for the spreadsheet that she did for us. It made all the information really easy to understand. And thanks also, Randy, for having that conversation. You and Lee and F and I didn't understand the actual dynamics of it. So anyone else? Okay, why don't we can go ahead and vote by raising hands tonight. All those in favor of Resolution X, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Thank you all. Next, we are going to move on to reports by our County Administrator, Corsa Kumfi.
Thank you. I don't have a long report today, just to indicate that our HHAP application is finally complete as of this afternoon. We are waiting for the paper printed copy to come in. I believe it's over 1,000 pages. And Brittany will have to take that to Albany and deliver it in person next week. So we're excited about the package. We urge all of you to wish us well so that we are successful with the ask of $50 million for our shelter project. We are very close to completing the Seneca Place lease, and hopefully we should get that sorted out for Workforce Development to start working or start moving to that site. I got the lease signed today. I'm waiting for the other party to execute it, and then we can we can pick up the keys and start the process. That being said, COFA finally started working from Dutch Mill on yesterday. I was there on Friday and yesterday as well. The place looked great, and I'll encourage all of you to pay them a visit and look at how the place is laid out, and I'm really excited what they could do. The other thing that Lisa mentioned to me is for the client that came over, there's significant positive report to their engagement at the space, and they're really excited about the parking and the space as they have set it up. So I encourage all of you that can find the time to pay them a visit and tour the site. Part of our budget process this year will be moving to Dutch Mill to use the amazing conference room out there as well for our budget review process. I'm really excited about how we use our facilities for our process. Last item I just want to highlight is during BCP, I did provide overview of the county's budget and where we are. So I don't have the printout with me right now, but just to give you some top level highlight is for all the requests that came in before review was $310.7 million. And for revenues that came in, the projected revenues were about $236 million. That net local share of 73.9 million. So if you compare that to our 2026 adopted tax levy, you're looking at a gap of about $17 million, which is roughly about 30% increase over the 2026 tax levy. That is the initial request. There are a few items that we are working through to review. There are some very minor duplications here and there that we are cleaning up. But we've started the departmental meetings and engaging department and looking at their ask and all of that. One of the difficulties that we are grappling with right now is based on the numbers we looked at this morning, myself and Norma, just for maintenance of effort, we need at least about 8% tax levy increase for maintenance of effort. And we have additional almost about $8 million in new requests coming in. and additional and other items as well that we are planning for. So we continue to review those numbers and those asks, and I'll be able to provide you a much more detailed report and update in August, and also as we prepare to present the recommended budget on September 1st. Our goal is to be able to present to you a single-digit tax levy increase, but it's going to be very, very difficult. So I believe last at the BCP we were informed to give a list of all those additional requests or the gap, what is contributing to those gaps. So we are working through that report as well, and we'll give you all the lines and everything that is contributing to the ask as well. So, and that's the good news of my report today.
I wouldn't call that good news, Corsa. Deborah?
Yeah, thank you, Corsa. When we talk about maintenance of effort, I think one of the things that several of us have asked you all to consider is whether every effort is worth maintaining. Are you looking at existing programs with an eye to suggesting that perhaps not all of them should be continued?
That is one of the options. I have indicated to several departments there's a likelihood that we may have to get eliminate some positions. So we are spending more time to evaluate vacancies. Yes, there are certain imbalances within our process that I will be recommending a position or 2 or 3 to be added on in 2020, in 2027 onwards. But we are working through other positions that could potentially be eliminated or readjusted, and also looking at the programs as well. There are some of these programs are very difficult in terms of the way they are immersed into our processes and operations, but we are evaluating everything to make sure that we are able to provide a recommended budget that is sound. Any suggested changes will also come with a justification why we are suggesting those changes as well.
Thank you.
Randy?
Yes, thanks, Corsa. At the budget and capital meeting, you presented a document and you showed that the revenue forecast for 2027 was quite a bit less, $20 million less than 2025, something like that, a big number.
Yes.
So before we go into our budget discussions in September, it'd be nice maybe at this next meeting, we get a little advance of what's going on with this revenue, because if that's the issue, one of the big issues, to understand really why we're also going to be $30 million less in revenue from someplace. So, because obviously it's not sales tax and it's not other things, so understanding that before we get into all these budget meetings, voting on things would be helpful for me.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Anyone else? Any other questions for Corsa or comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have County Attorney Maury Josephson.
After that little discussion, I'm hesitant to say anything. I saw it today on the way in on my slightly longer commute now. Coming down Warren Road, there was a 1921 Ford Model A pickup truck zipping along at about 45 miles an hour, followed by a red Tesla zipping along, wanting to go somewhat faster, and then me behind them. Considering the inventors of those two products, sometimes, deeply flawed individuals do produce some great things. In the case of the Model A, Henry Ford, and in case of the Tesla, Elon Musk. And in that respect, greatness is not perfection, and so I suppose the budget will be great, but not perfect. That said, I don't have anything in particular to add. Our office is busy and humming along. I think we're about due for a full litigation report. particularly after the last discussion where we talked about settlement of a case, which did come in at a very nice number, less than the max and more than what our outside counsel thought it would go for, and sort of right where I thought it would be. All of our other projects, it's nice to hear Corsa talk about things that, I'm happy that we were a part of. Holly did a great job with the Seneca Place lease, and we had some nice input into the HHAP project, and we'll be contributing to and moving our tax foreclosure process to helping finance move that to conclusion. It's really an ongoing privilege to be involved in all of these processes and all of the initiatives that we're pursuing.
Thanks, Maureen. I do want to make note that Ann Corman has a red Tesla. I would like to rat out my friend, so it could have been Annie. I mean, it probably wasn't, but it could have been. Okay, any questions for Maury or comments? Okay. Next, we have Daryl Tuttle, Director of Finance.
Good evening. Just give me a minute and let me share my screen, and I'm going to go over my May 2026 sales tax report. Before I go through these numbers, just so I don't trip over my words and make sure it's clear, when I say year-to-date, I'm talking from January to May as we're comparing. First off, I'll start with the total county sales tax collected. For May 2026, we collected $6,873,000, which is a 8.59% increase compared to last May. 2025. Now, year to date, we're at $34,760,000, which is 6.27% when you compare to 2025's year to date. The county's portion mimics that very closely. In May 2026, we have received $3,866,000 at an 8.59% increase, and year to date is $19,552,000. With a 6.27 increase compared to last year. For the municipalities, not including the city, so the towns and villages, May of 2026, a total of $1,581,000 was collected, and that represents a 13.62% increase. The year to date is $7,938,000, which is an 8.32% increase. And then lastly, the city of Ithaca, May is $1,425,000 with a 3.50 increase, and year to date is $7,269,000 with a 4.13% increase. If we look at the budget to actual, we're at about, if you just do the unallocated, once you take out everything, we're at 41%, 41.24%. Looks like we're a little low, but coming in nicely. Now the next page, which is actually packet page 8, is just typical comparisons with graphs showing 2023 to 24 to 25 and 26, and then broken down by month, budget to actual. Is there any questions regarding sales tax?
Deborah?
Yeah, I do notice that we're kind of squeaking right next to where we should be, so people should not get super excited. Although I guess the fourth quarter will be the thing that tells the tale.
That is correct. If I remember right, I did say the sales tax was a bit aggressive when we budgeted, but we're just like right below that line. So, I mean, could be a lot worse, but we'll see what the fourth quarter, what the remaining year shows. Okay. In addition to that, I don't have anything other than report, other than I feel comfortable sharing some news here. everyone at this table has already received the email, but as of yesterday, I have submitted my resignation to Chairperson Shauna Black. I won't go into the details. I'll still be here for another ledge meeting, but my official last day will be August 20th. And I'll probably get this opportunity to say it again, but it has been a pleasure, and I look forward to working with the ledge, my own department, the finance department, and county administration to ensure a smooth transition.
Thank you, Daryl. I did threaten not to accept his resignation, but
I wish you
did.
his family's going to move without him. So we're going to miss you dearly.
She also mentioned that if she knew it was me, she might not have answered the phone.
That's exactly right. Yes. So we are going to miss you. We're going to cherish the next month that we have with you and pick your brain and make sure that things move smoothly to the next person.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Daryl? Okay. Daryl, do you mind stopping your share, please?
Just give me 1 second.
Okay, no problem. Are there any resolutions to be added to or withdrawn from our agenda? Lee?
I believe we want to withdraw W.
Okay.
Or to refer back to budget and capital.
Okay.
It has implications on the department's target in moving forward into 2027.
Okay, thank you. Any other resolutions to be withdrawn or added? Okay, we're going to move on to consent agenda. Resolutions and appointments to be voted on as a group unless any member of the legislature requests that a resolution or appointment be instead included separately and individually as part of the business of standing or special committees. Health and Human Services Committee, Resolution A, authorization to accept New York State Association of County Health Officials Immunization Action Plan, Mini Grant and Budget Adjustment, Department of Whole Health, ID 14158. Resolution B, authorization to move unallocated state aid funding to Assisted Competitive Employment Program Code 1380 Whole Health Department, ID 14170. Public Safety Committee, Resolution C, authorization to increase 3 security officers to 40 hours per week, Department of Emergency Response, ID 14171. Resolution D.
I'd like to move D.
Okay. Facilities and Infrastructure Committee, Resolution E, authorizing an agreement for the implementation and funding for the first instance 100% of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Water Quality Improvement Program, eligible costs in a new capital project, Carillon Depot Road culvert over 6 Mile Creek tributary and appropriating funds therefore. ID 14146. Resolution F, authorizing New York State Department of Transportation, Section 5311, transfer to Federal Transit Administration, Section 5307. Grant 5475-2026-1, application for Tompkins County, ID 14150. Authorization, Resolution G, authorizing New York State Department of Transportation, Section 5311, transfer to Federal Transit Administration, Section 5307, grant 5475-2026-2, application for Tompkins Consolidated Area Transit, ID 14151. Resolution A, authorizing New York State Department of Transportation, Section 5311, transfer to Federal Transit Administration, Section 5307, grant 5475-2026-3 for gadabout application, ID 14152. Resolution I, authorizing 5475-2026-4, Federal Transit Administration, Section 5307, Urban Formula Program, grant application for Tompkins Consolidated Area Transit, ID 14153. Resolution J, authorizing 5474-2026-5, Federal Transit Administration, Section 5307, Urban Formula Program, grant application for gadabout, ID 14154. Resolution K, authorizing 5475-2026-6, Federal Transit Administration, Section 5307, Urban Formula Program, grant application for Tompkins County, ID 14155. Resolution L, authorization to execute a contract with Culligan Quench for bottleless water cooler for Tompkins County Recycling and Materials Management, ID 14162.
Remove M, please.
Okay. Government Operations Committee, Resolution N, authorization for the Tompkins County Administration Department to enter into a multi-year agreement with Ultimate Kronos Group for payroll software services, ID 14177. Can I have a mover for our consent agenda, please? Moved by Christy, seconded by Irene. And all those in favor, please raise your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you.
Shauna?
Yeah.
Quick point of information. Why was L a necessary resolution? I don't know if this is an appropriate form. I'm just curious. It seems like something that should be able to be handled at the department level.
For a water cooler? Is that what you're?
Yeah, I mean, it's bottleless. It doesn't seem like it meets or rises to the occasion of
It's under a certain amount.
our spending. I'm just curious why.
Yeah, no, I was
I
wondering
can
that too.
look into it and let you know, but
Okay. Just,
Yeah.
sorry to, I didn't want to pull it, but I'm all for it. Love a water
Inquiring
cooler.
minds want to know.
But we don't want to approve $150 at a time. Is that where you're going with this?
That's kind of where I was getting
okay.
at. I trust our team, but I don't know if it goes against a policy or something there or what. So.
Okay. Next, we're going to move to standing and special committees. And I just want to note that you'll notice how smoothly this meeting is going. It is 6:28. We do have one member of our legislature not here. I don't know if this makes any, no, I'm just joking. No, I'm not saying it's Iris's fault that we go till midnight.
You just jinxed it.
Worried about what?
Okay, Health and Human Services.
She jinxed it.
I did jinx it. No, I'm not. No, okay. Health and Human Services, Travis Brooks, Chair.
We met last week on Wednesday. We had a really good meeting. It was the longest meeting we've had in some time. We had a few guests come in. We had a food bank of the Southern Tier come in and talk about what's going on with the food bank. I had requested that Jenny bring in Marie Boyer. I'm not sure if you all know who Marie is. Marie does the reentry work for the county at Whole Health. Quite a few of the organizations that I work with through LEAD, different outreach workers, all comment on how much the world of reentry has changed with Marie and her ability to get people situated when they come out. She visits folks in the county jail. A lot of work. So the conversation really came up because at the CJTI meetings, she talks about her work, and I started wondering, well, what if we spent more on the front end and had two Maries? Do we spend less on the back end in terms of shelter services, ongoing medical health services, things of that nature, people going in and out of the county? And so Corsa and I had a conversation, Jenny and I had a conversation. I wanted the folks from the committee to hear about the program and the good work that she's done. So she shared quite a bit. In 2025, there were 154 different intakes. 77 of those folks still get ongoing support. There's been over 348 successful referrals. That means that people need multiple referrals for different types of things. What I really liked is that the numbers were clear. It wasn't this astronomical number of people that were being dealt with. They might have just come into her office or called. These are actual people that she's worked with. So that was really helpful. So that was the conversation, and then, of course, Jenny and I are going to meet again to talk about what that could look like if we were to move in that direction. I also had folks from TCA, Danielle Harrington, and then our own Liddy Barger from COC come in and talk about housing. I think everybody's aware now, for some years, HED had housing, all the housing, and so Shauna decided to move a particular type of housing from economic development to health and human services. And this is transitional short-term housing. So shelter housing, conversations around Section 8, things like that. So we had a really good conversation about Section 8, and there's two different programs in our county. One is ran through TCA, one is ran through IHA. Brenda Westfall from IHA couldn't meet with us that day. So it's a voucher system. If you have an apartment and you have a tenant that has Section 8, they may pay a percentage or all of the rent, and then the tenant is responsible for the rest. Each year, the number of folks getting Section 8 has gone down. The waiting list has been frozen. They can't take any people. And every time somebody comes off the program, their voucher's not reissued in this county. It's just gone. And so when we look at folks coming off of the program, the question is, how are they able to afford housing? And so it's another conversation that we're going to have to wrestle with as these programs lose more and more space, as they're not funded as they've been in the past, and people's situations get worse. What are we going to do as a county, and are we prepared for it? Are we ready for it? So we thought it was important to start having these conversations because it's coming. Brenda is worried that by the time this administration is over, the federal administration, there may not be a Section 8 program. Right now, that's over 1,000 people in our community for just that one program that wouldn't have Section 8 vouchers anymore. So it's a big deal. So they came in and they shared with us. That's really all I have from HHS.
I just want to add real quick to what Travis just shared, because a few things. I thought it was so great that Travis invited that particular group of people, the reentry folks and the housing folks, for two reasons. Number one, it tells a very clear story in this county about housing and about what happens to folks as they're leaving incarceration in the community and what happens when they don't have that housing. They reoffend, the cycle just keeps going. The point that came up in the conversation was that we don't have a halfway house in Ithaca, and how difficult and kind of devastating that is for people when they want to come back to the community. They're looking to really reestablish themselves after an incarceration, and they have to go to communities outside of Ithaca or outside of Tompkins County to get the type of supportive housing that they need, and how isolated that makes people feel, and how it really contributes to this ongoing cycle of addiction and incarceration. And so that's something for us to really focus on and think about. So I thought that was really brilliant. From a policy perspective, looking at what's happening to HCVP is really important because, yes, the current administration is attacking it. They wanted to get rid of the voucher program and replace it with block grants. We don't want that. For so many reasons, the voucher program has been more successful. And I think that's just something if we need to think about in terms of advocacy and policy on a statewide level and on the federal level to keep, and thankfully they didn't get it, Congress didn't pass it, but it's something for us to keep our eye on. So thank you.
Thank you, Christy, for bringing that point up. I think many of us talk about folks making different decisions for their lives. And you have folks that go away to rehabilitation places. You have folks that spend time in the county jail and they come home and they haven't used. They've been abstinent for a period of time, whether it was on purpose or because of their situation. All it takes is a few hours to find yourself right back in the same situation you were in before you spent 30 days, 90 days, 120 days in a program. And we've had folks in this community, plenty of folks in this community, who have overdosed their first time and unfortunately passed. And so housing is critical when people come home. So to have somebody working 40 hours a week dedicated to these folks that are coming from the county, trying to get them into housing before they touch down. So the process starts while they're at the county is huge. Marie's one person. We don't have enough Maries. It certainly does save us quite a bit of money on the back end as well for those who are fiscal hawks. So thank you for bringing that up because that's huge.
Deborah?
Yeah, can we circle back to the housing choice vouchers? Are they disappearing because there's a shortage of housing available, or is this the administration killing the program by attrition?
So it's the administration. So two things are happening. It's the administration, and then so with each program is slightly different. So with Ithaca Housing Authority, for example, let's say I was a landlord and I increased my rent for whatever reasons. You can only pay up to a certain amount. And so as landlords are increasing their rent, what happens is the folks have to be able to afford that increase because housing isn't paying for that. And if they do, it comes out of their reserves. It doesn't come out of the federal program. It comes out of their own reserve, and they can only run so much in a negative. I really wish Brenda was able to attend. I'm going to invite her to a future meeting because they had to get permission to cover their deficit from their what we call our fund, our
savings.
Yes, their savings. And you got to get permission from the feds to be able to do that, and the feds don't want you to do that, especially now, because if you do that, then you're helping these folks out. If they can't afford it and get evicted, then you take back that voucher and you can't reissue it. That's the whole thing. So as people lose a voucher, you're not allowed to reissue it. And there's a waiting list for new ones to come. So a lot of landlords, because of taxes, because of repairs, because of COVID, because of the flood insurance, have to increase what they're asking for. And these programs are already maxed out because people are coming in at the ceiling rate. So that's one of the ways that people are losing their vouchers. So I think the city, when they did away with they put the new rules in for Airbnb, short-term rentals, the hope was, and I understand it, is that more local people would be able to get housing in those situations. Well, you have to be able to afford housing in those situations. And if you're a landlord and you overspent on a house thinking Airbnb was going to help you cover that cost, and now you're realizing they're not. Some people started off doing, taking vouchers from the Section 8 programs. And once they realized they weren't going to be able to get their rent increased, they stopped taking those vouchers. They had 4-bedroom, they could easily get $1,000 a month from a student versus, $3,000 from somebody who's struggling. So I don't think the plan really worked as well as they thought, but it's not the inventory of houses, it's the number of vouchers that they have.
Thank you.
Judith?
Oh, thanks for highlighting this. When you talk about the impact that Marie has had on the community and on these programs and what a second person might do, it also made me think of how vulnerable it is to have a program that relies on one person so intensely. If that person moves on, we lose the whole program. It's not easy to replace. It's not easy to continue. It's not easy to hire a new person to start it up again. And so I think something to keep in mind.
Absolutely, and 77 people for somebody to have on their caseload. I think the recommended number for people to have on cases when they do case management is 25. She's triple that. She's over triple that. And some folks are extremely needy. So you may spend 2 hours a day with an individual, 14 hours a week with one person, and you have 76 other people you're trying to help navigate. People spend an average, I think she said 6 to 8 months on the program. So, people do come out of the program. They come out of the case management, but there's more people right there to be picked up. And that is a big deal. If she's sick, if she's out, vacations, all of those things, people's needs don't stop, right? And so, having a person and a half, having 2 people could be extremely helpful and very beneficial to that population and our budget as well.
Any other questions or comments for Travis or Christy? You want to move your resolution, Travis?
Oh, yeah. I do have one of those.
Okay.
I don't usually have much to share. All right, hold up. It's consent. There we go. Resolution O, creation of an epidemiologist position, whole health department, 14141.
Can I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Rachel.
So we actually voted last year to fund this position, and in June, we voted on the committee to start the hiring process. So here we are. This position is to deal with records and everything up at Whole Health. We approved the position last year. It's just now funding it for this year. So the money is in the budget, correct?
Is that right, Carissa?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for the resolution? Mike and then Randy?
I voted against this in committee. I frankly thought we should be looking at kind of everything we even approved last year from a spending aspect. I mean, I've advocated for a hiring freeze considering the budget situation we're in this year. And I even suggested maybe not doing OTRs this year. Listen, I understand this is a valuable position. I think all our positions are valuable in the county, but I just don't see that we have the finances for it. And I can appreciate that we passed it last year, but last year isn't this year. So that's why I voted against it. It would be kind of odd for me to advocate for a hiring freeze and then vote to add a new position. So thanks.
Thank you. Randy?
Yeah, I'm kind of coming from the same spot. I know this is deemed essential when we talked about it at the last budget year. But I would like, when we get into the budget season, to know what administration feels are essential positions. And so I'm asking you right now, is this an essential position?
Administratively, it's difficult for me to answer because I do not. This position is, we don't have a similar one. It's a new position recommended by Commissioner of Whole Health based on health education challenges that she's also seeing within our current model, and feels that this will provide some efficiencies and also help with health education and other things that is lacking in the county. So I do support the structure of it as was presented to me. Yes, I do also acknowledge the challenges that we are facing. So as I mentioned earlier, there will be some position that we will recommend to be added. At the same time, I'm working with department to eliminate some vacancies or some position that currently exist. I'm happy to, I know Jenny is not here today to speak to the value it's in itself in terms of the work, but if you want to hold it for her to come in at the next meeting to speak to it, I'm happy to do that, but I can't speak to the value as a whole, but from my understanding, it's very key in terms of where we want the whole health to go as we move forward.
I will say that many counties our size actually have a full-time medical director, and we do not. We have a part-time medical director who essentially is a retired physician. Dr. Claypack is wonderful, but his main focus has really been family practice, and he's very good at that. And I think during the pandemic, and I was on the Board of Health for 8 years, one thing that we saw is that every meeting there was something that was kind of up and coming and something that we should really keep our eyes on. I mean, we had the pandemic, we had COVID, we had bird flu, we had, now there's the newest issue with eating fruits and vegetables, and so I think, this position is really there to complement where we're lacking in that department. This has been something that not only Jenny has really been a proponent of, but even before her, Frank Krupa was pretty adamant that this was the missing piece at the health department. So I will definitely be supporting this. Judith and then Travis.
I'm very supportive of epidemiological work, obviously, and we've seen a lot of critical health issues come up both recently and in the last few years. It's a little hard to make a call on this as a new person who wasn't part of the discussion about adding this position in a time where the budget is so tight. I feel like that discussion happened. People must have learned a lot about the need for this position, and that is not presented here. And so it feels like I'd have to vote kind of blind to support this position without hearing about the benefits. There's no memo associated with this to sort of show me. And I think that's because the position was approved already. Right? That already happened, but a lot of us weren't here for it. And I wonder if there's a way to get more information before we vote to proceed on this.
I have Travis and Deb.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile waiting and to the next meeting and having Jenny be here. I think as a department head, she should be able to, defend why she thinks this is important and what the benefits are and answer the questions folks have. I am not going to be one to support many over-target requests this year. I think I've said that several times. Unless it can be demonstrated that it improves efficiencies, it possibly could save us money. There are times, and Randy said this before, and I agree with him, that it is necessary to spend money on technology to save money in the long end. And so, whether I support it or not, I supported it in the committee. I hear what people are saying about hiring freezes in the position we're in. We just heard Corsa talk about the 8% increase. So I think it's best to wait until Jenny's here and let her talk about the position, why it's important, the benefits of it, and what it could do for the county long term.
A few things. I think, Corsa, what would be really helpful is whenever we have resolutions, the department heads should really be here so that we can move things along. I think that's part of their job. And, for us to ask questions, for it to get to this level, we're going to have questions. And the memo, and I know Katrina's written emails about this, the memos are so helpful for all of us to have the background. And whenever we don't have that, we're not able to make good decisions. So if you could work on that on your end. And Travis, would you like to withdraw this resolution and then you could bring it back for our next meeting?
Yeah,
and
I'll do that.
Jenny can be here and we'll have a memo as well.
I would.
Yes, we'll do.
Point of information. Just to clarify, did we extend an offer to someone, or did we didn't start the interview process?
No, so.
Okay, sorry, I maybe misunderstood what Travis, what you were saying.
Yeah, based on policy, every single position, new position that will be created has to come, even though we approve a budget already for it. So this is to create a position for us to be able to actually start the hiring process.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we weren't changing the game midstream. So thank you. Right.
No, I'm fine with withdrawing this resolution and putting that on the next agenda.
Okay, so we will do that. Rachel, are you all right with that? Were you the seconder? Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions for Travis or comments? Okay, we're going to move on to Housing and Economic Development Committee. Greg Mezzi, Chair.
We did not have a July meeting. We still have a housing shortage. The economy is working for some and not for most. But I know that our planning department is actively working through RFPs to get to a decision around our housing study, which hopefully is more action items than reiterating the issue that there's a housing issue. So other than that, nothing to report. We will have another legislature meeting before our August meeting. Just to remind everyone, we're the first Wednesday of every month. So, but yeah, can't report much other than that.
Thank you, Greg. Any questions for Greg? Okay. Next, we're going to move on to Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee. Irene Weiser, Chair.
Irene Weiser, mouthful.
Oh. We could skip you and come back. Okay. Public Safety Committee, Travis Brooks, Chair.
Well, we have met since our last meeting, and we meet again next Tuesday. We had a short meeting. We had quite a few department heads that were out and about and couldn't join us. We had 3 resolutions from Dewar. The one that stood out to me the most was there was a resolution for a new paging system. Ours is outdated. It doesn't work anymore. But what stood out was that legend has it that one of our colleagues at this table started a fund many years ago, a radio replacement fund, so that when we got to this point, it wouldn't cost the county a bunch of money that we don't have. It was something that they had saved up over time. So that resolution was paid for by that fund. And I thought that was really cool and exciting to hear that there was the foresight to do that, knowing that we were going to run into this problem. That's the legend. I don't know if it's true. I can't.
There's a legacy.
Lee Shirtliff, the man, the myth, the legend.
So we do have a resolution. Maybe it's time to switch to paper. Huh? Okay. Resolution P, authorization to apply for the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York DASNY grant for the expansion of the Rapid Medical Response RMR program, Department of Emergency Response, DOER, ID 14181.
Can I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Greg Messy.
So a few weeks ago, well, I think it was our last meeting, I forgot what the word is, but we voted for DOER to kind of go to the next level for our emergency response, which is the ALS level, the life-saving level. So what they want to do is be able to apply for a grant to be able to get equipment and staffing to be able to go to that level. And Mike is here.
Good evening. Joe is on the call as well. I actually just lost Joe. Oh, there he is. Joe really put a lot of work into this program, so I'm going to let Joe take it from here, and then I'll just fill in where I can. So, Joe.
Yeah, so Senator Webb's office contacted us with this opportunity. The grant would cover any major capital expenses in advanced life-saving equipment such as cardiac monitors, upgrading our vehicles, as well as renovation space for building space.
Great. Are there any questions? Okay, I have Randy and Deborah.
Yes, thank you, Joe. So I read your memo. Thank you for filling us in and all those things. So would this be still one person in a car? Is that still the plan or are you looking at hiring more people? Or?
We'd be looking to hire, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, I thought you stopped me. We'd be looking to hire an ALS provider, a paramedic level. Right now, we're offering basic life support at the EMT level. So the expansion of this program, which is really the crux of the grant because it requires an expansion of an existing program, would allow us to provide a fourth truck with a paramedic in it. And it would be a single responder, similar to what we do now. And they would be going to their higher acuity calls that are screened by dispatch. We've identified that as a gap right now in our existing program because we do have paramedics on staff that are operating at the basic level, EMT level, that sometimes find themselves in a conundrum because they have this advanced skill, but they don't have the ability to perform at that level. So that's our vision for this program.
Okay, Deborah, Greg, and Dan.
So, yeah, thank you. I want to be sure I understand what the fiscal implications of this are. So we would get a $500,000 grant, and then we would kick in this $490,000, and that would be a fiscal target increase, so that would carry on forever.
Yes.
Okay.
Greg?
So just to be clear, that 988,000 is what is the fiscal target increase or total?
That is the total cost of the expansion project. So 500,000 of that, it would be covered by the grant, and then the 490, I think it's 98,000 remainder would have to come from the county.
And the grant is for one year?
I believe it's a 2-year grant.
2-year grant. Okay, so after that, to continue with this, we would have a $500,000 increase to our target to maintain this. And so,
not necessarily. So the 500,000, yeah, to maintain. So the 500,000 is to purchase the capital expenses. So they're really our upfront, our biggest expenses upfront. The other 490,000 is our soft expenses. So our regular EMS supplies, payroll, fringe benefits, that kind of thing.
So that about 490,000 is what would be the ongoing expense.
Correct.
And then, so does this allow, and I apologize, a lot of new acronyms in here for me to try to grasp. Would this allow everyone who operates as part of the rapid medical response who has the credentialing to operate at this higher level, or just this one specialized?
The one specialized unit.
Unit,
yeah.
okay. Why not elevate those with the training to be able to perform at the level they're capable of?
It really comes down to
This
budgeting.
grant would allow us to outfit all of our vehicles at the advanced life support level, but we would only be operating one at a time at the advanced life support level. So if we happen to have a paramedic covering a basic shift, they would be able to operate at the paramedic level. But our current RMR program is going to continue as it stands. It's just going to have ALS equipment in the vehicle with them.
Yeah. I don't know if that exactly answers your question, because you were really talking about a staffing. So yes, all the vehicles would be equipped to operate at the ALS level, but we would be just looking to staff with one paramedic. So even if we had other paramedics that were hired at EMTs, they'd be working at the basic life support level simply because of funding, although that would be ideal. But there is still a need for basic life, a basic or BLS level response as well. And so it's really having a combination of resources and not just having paramedics go on basic life support calls. It's really trying to leverage our system and dispatch to make sure that we're sending the appropriate unit. But it would really right now just be about staffing one paramedic in that truck.
Do you have any idea the cost increase to change from the basic level to the advanced level per person? Because we have 4 vehicles.
For every position.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Or per position. Like.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't broken it down like that. I mean, we could break that down further, but because primarily what we'd like to do is still have our basic life support units as well, because a lot of our calls are at that level. And I think that that's part of the conundrum that we have in this county. So most of our ambulances are staffed with one paramedic and one EMT. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but when we talk about paramedic shortages, there are a lot of systems where ambulances are staffed with 2 EMTs and paramedics are in fly cars, and they provide that basic life support care. So imagine now every ambulance that's staffed right now having a paramedic and an EMT. You have paramedics, many calls they're going on don't rise to the level of their skill set. So then when we have these higher acuity calls, we can have a lot of paramedics caught up on these basic life support calls in an ambulance with an EMT. So we're trying to sort of change that model a little bit by having this ALS fly car, so we can have those units, a unit available for those higher acuity calls, but wouldn't be tied down to an ambulance on a basic level call with a paramedic in it.
That's super helpful. Thank you so much.
I have Dan, Randy, and Judith.
My question has been addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Randy?
Yes, Mike. So I think when we started this program 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we took existing vehicles and adapted them to this.
We did. We did that initially. We used vehicles from the fleet to start the program, and then we obtained a grant to replace those vehicles. And part of this grant money would be helping to replace those vehicles, because really their lifespan is 2 to 3 years, because they get ran pretty hard. There's a lot of idle time. So part of this will help us with that gap as well. But we did. We started with used vehicles, and then we evolved into our current fleet. We have one of those used vehicles in place, and that was secured through grant funding.
So how many vehicles, once this grant is, if it's received, would you have on the ready with this equipment?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. So right now we have 3 units that run, and we have 1 spare, and that's one of those used vehicles that we left. It was the better of the 3, and then we got rid of the others. Those were auctioned off. So the vision would be now to have 4, one of which would be a paramedic. So we would have 4, and then 1 spare. That would be the key, because there's always instances where an oil change has to be done, or there's some type of mechanical problem, and we don't want to go down in the number of trucks. Sometimes we have to do that, but it wouldn't be to necessarily have this large fleet of vehicles. It would just basically be a +1 system, where if we have 4 units that we're using, then we'd have a +1.
And so my last question, this was already asked and answered, but I just want to make sure I understand it. So we're looking at additional roughly $500,000 in employee cost for 2027 and forward.
Sure. And I want you to know we're sensitive to the situation the legislature's in. Some of this work really began, long before we knew some of the financial struggles that we're having. It's aligned with the presentation that we made to Public Safety April of last year and really consistent with some of the findings of the CGR report. So I feel like we're just sort of continuing to check the trajectory at a natural pace. I think it's very organic as well. We're not trying to add transport ambulances, for example. We're just trying to do this in baby steps and continue to provide a foundation.
Yeah, I think that we all understand, or at least the ones that have been here for a while, that this cost is going to continue to go up one way or another. So I agree with that. And so now my next question is for Corsa. So Corsa, here we are adding $500,000 to the budget next year, and how do you feel about it?
I feel neutral.
That will, you get that response once.
Yes.
And you already used it.
Yes, and I completely understand that, and I think the fact of the matter also remains in most municipalities, there's more calls on the county to step up with emergency management and also close the gaps. I think last year when I came in and I was introduced to the conversation about emergency management, emergency medical, and things where we were and the gaps that exist, I think my understanding at the point was we are moving forward to closing those gaps. And I think this is one of the steps to close those gaps that currently do exist. But yes, it's a 1% levy increase year on year for the cost, and it's something that we need to pay attention to. I think I don't think there's a bailing element at this point, unless we get our CON and then redesign the program. But that being said, looking across the county is about 1%. One third of the cost of what you can really bill. There's a significant portion of the cost which is local. So we just need to be aware of those needs. And as we make these decisions and improve conditions, there's cost to it that we have to pay for.
It is one of the reasons we applied for our CON, because that does position us nicely. If we decided to build, we could do that. Even for the services that we're providing now, because we don't have a CON, we can't. So that would be an option that we could bring back to Legislature once we get this CON to discuss, how we could provide, we could bill for our services, which frankly all of the EMS programs are for the most part doing.
Judith?
I'm looking through the table, which I really appreciate. I love seeing the numbers laid out. I can see the primary cost to the county is payroll hours and fringe benefits at $293,000 a year. So I'm trying to work out or try to understand. Right now, how many vehicles do we have as part of the RMR program?
That's a fair question. So the Rapid Medical Response has 3 vehicles. It runs Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., although Joe and I have been talking about alternating those hours as we grow and we learn, because we want it to be data-driven. So we have 3 units on the road Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and those are staffed with EMTs. However, we have some staff that are actually paramedics that are working at the EMT level.
Okay, and so this would be to add a 4th vehicle.
A 4th vehicle.
And then we would hire additional staff. We would take some of the existing staff who can work at this level and then hire additional staff to fill the positions they would have left.
Right.
Now, you probably don't know the answer, but do you know the cost to run one of the regular RMR vehicles per year? I mean, here we can see that this cost is $488,000 a year for this kind of vehicle, but how does that compare to a regular RMR?
I don't know the number.
Okay.
Joe, do you happen to know what the cost is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
I'm sorry.
Okay. It's not that important. I guess my question is, do we have to do both things? Do we have to add a vehicle to get the ALS services, or could we get this ALS vehicle and then retire or put on hold one of the other ones? So we go from 3 to 3 of which one of them has this additional capacity?
I think that's an option, because I still think that meets the guidelines, Joe, right, for expansion, because we'd be expanding the level of service. I think it's absolutely an option.
That seems like it might be a useful middle path that allows us to access this grant money and then pause on the decision of expansion. I do think oh, sorry.
I would say, Judith, to your point, one of the other differences with this is this was built so that ALS unit is in service Monday through Friday, 24/7, or 24 hours for those 5 days, versus our current model is Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. With the expansion, the BLS units would still be 7 to 7, but that paramedic would be on 24 hours Monday through Friday. So that is something else that we could look at adjusting hours with that to kind of help offset those costs as well.
Yeah, and then I guess my other question is, as you mentioned, cost recovery. It seems like a shame to leave health insurance dollars on the table when people have health insurance and usually would expect to pay for these costs. So I feel like that really should be wrapped up in this as a plan, like not just an idea, but a straight on, like this is the plan and it will help us manage the costs that way.
And that's all contingent on us getting our CON, which we have applied for. And then we figured if we got it, then we could come back to this body and have that discussion. But that is something that we're prepared for, and we think that it's logical.
Irene and then Greg.
Yeah, I just want to speak in support of this. And Joe, thank you for the work to find ways to keep moving the RMR program forward. I think a lot of you guys know that I worked on this EMS issue like starting 10 years ago. This has been brewing and needing to you know, inch forward, and I think this is a really smart, structured way to do it. The other thing I want to say is I get it, and I hear people about, you know, the tax concerns, the budget concerns. I'm hard-pressed to think that if we put to our constituents that we're going to be raising taxes so that when they or their kids or their family members need somebody qualified to show up for an emergency, that they'll have somebody who can show up. I'm hard-pressed to think that any of our constituents are going to object to that, and that's what this program is for. So I'm 100% behind it, and I appreciate the work that's gone into it.
Okay. I have two more speakers, and if we could try and wrap this up. I know this is a really important topic with a lot of money for future, but if we could wrap this up, that would be great. Greg and then Travis.
Yeah, Irene, thanks for your comments. I think, you know, this is money well spent. I have a two-part question. One, the hours that this operates is again, and I don't have data, so I just have my instinct, is a little concerning to me because those hours seem a little bit like they fit the
business model?
The business model rather than the actual, like, when our calls, right? Every neighbor I've ever seen that had an ambulance show up, it's been at night, you know.
Because you're home.
Because I'm home, but you know, I'm also around more during the day than not. But I just wonder if the data, right? Because we want data to drive this decision. Are we seeing a majority of our calls between 7 and 7? And are those calls, and not to minimize some of the, you know, like nursing home assists or those type of things, but are they actual calls, to Irene's point, where we really need someone to show up and show up quickly?
Yes, there's a lot to that. So let me address the first question. So the spirit behind the RMR program was to augment the volunteer services. Most of the fire departments run some level of medical first response. And what we noticed and what TCOG brought to my attention very early in my tenure was that that's where the gap was, that the fire departments running medical first response was struggling during the day because there's less volunteer coverage during the day. So when we first put this model together, we thought, well, Monday through Friday, 7A to 7P, that's when those volunteers are most likely going to be working. So at 7 p.m., when they start arriving home, they can start covering their calls. What we do now during the day is we do simultaneous dispatch with the local rescue. So let's say, you know, rescue ABC fire department is dispatched to a medical emergency in their jurisdiction. Our RMR is simultaneously dispatched because there's a very good chance that during the day, they're going to scratch on that call. They're not going to be able to get out. So I'm sorry, that's an EMS term. They're not going to be able to get out the door. So that way we're already responding and we're ready. Our hope is that in the evening hours that those volunteers will be able to cover those hours and cover the hours on the weekends. And that's why we modeled it. But now we've got 2 years of data. Joe and I literally met yesterday about like, should all the trucks start at 7? Maybe we should have one start at 5. Maybe we should have another one start at 8. And that expands our coverage because, you know, having been a volunteer for over 30 years in EMS, I worked midnight shift most of my life, so I would be getting off at 8 o'clock in the morning. So the bewitching hours really, it starts at 5. It doesn't really start at 7. So because people that are going to work are getting up and walking out the door at 5, so they're not answering a call at 5 a.m. At that point, they're thinking, I got to get to work by 8. So we really think that maybe we can back up one of those trucks to 5. So we're looking at that as well. So I hope that answered that part of your question.
100%. I've learned so much already.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your ability to explain. The last question I have is, if we got a CON, certificate of need, or when we do, would we be able to put a separate tax, like fire districts do for ambulance, rapid medical response, et cetera, so that it essentially could come out of the levy and could be very transparent on a tax bill of this is the amount of money per you know, tax parcel, essentially, that is going to support this program, much like fire districts do, or fire departments do in some of the towns, I believe. Is that something that we'd be capable of at the county? And I don't know, Mike, if you know that, or if this is a question for Corsa.
I think some of it's a question for Corsa, but what I can speak to is that CGR did have some models. Now, there's been some discussion about whether or not there could be a DMV surcharge, and I think Irene has talked to that. That may not be an option, but I think that that's something worth fleshing out. Some counties have done that, where they've added a fee to the registration. What I don't know is whether or not we've exhausted that option because we've used that opportunity somewhere else, or if that's still an option for us. But I think that's something worth exploring because some counties have been very successful at that. Smaller counties, no matter, you know, we think about the number of vehicles that we probably have registered here versus like a Tioga County or a neighboring county. So yes, I think, you know, but again, as far as the tax, I mean, I think that's outside my wheelhouse, but I think that there was some really good information in the CGR report that spoke to some of this. And I think billing, I mean, obviously billing is not going to completely help, but I think it will help offset some of the costs.
Thank you.
Greg, some of my colleagues at NYSEG have actually complained that the state is making them do this and they're not able to do the county district tax. I think it's a state law or state regulation, but we are not able to do a district like a village or a town, you know, like they have water districts and sidewalk districts and all that, and we don't have that ability.
Sounds like a good advocacy opportunity for our state elected officials.
Yes, especially if they're going to force us to do that.
I believe it actually is in the discussions at the state level. I don't think a decision has been made, but at the regional EMS councils, it's been brought up a few times that it is being talked about.
Great.
Good. I have Travis.
Be really quick. I was just wondering after Judith's comments and questions, which I think were really good, does that, for those who are on the fence, does that help move you in a direction to vote for this? And I agree with you, Irene. I think a lot of folks would be more than happy to pay for this in their taxes. The problem is there's things that they don't want to pay for that they're going to have to pay for. So that offsets it. But I do think most people would say, sure, if it's going to cost me $1 or $2 extra a year, let's go ahead and make that happen.
Okay, Irene's going to wrap us up.
Yeah, just to direct response, Mike, I actually just this afternoon, Rachel and I were texting about where are we at with the being able to put a surcharge on the vehicle tax. And so I'm continuing to look into that. There may be a way that we can escalate that through a local law here that would raise the rates that we currently,
I appreciate that.
the vehicle use tax that we currently have is already dedicated. The money goes, I think, to support highway stuff. But there may be a possibility for us to pass a local law to increase the vehicle use tax and then have that money funneled. So.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote on resolution.
Sean, can I just ask a question?
Yep.
Is there a way to vote to keep the number of vehicles at 3 and vote in favor of this resolution? Because it's not written that way. It's written with this larger increase in the baseline funding, which would represent adding a 4th vehicle. And I just want to know, like, is it possible to amend it in a way, we don't know the dollar number yet, but amend it in a way that would include that? I offer that as a suggestion. I think it might be easier.
Are you going to offer that as an amendment?
Yes. Well, I don't quite know how, because it doesn't say 3 or 4 vehicles in the text of the resolution.
Let's see if we could get some clarity from Corsa.
So for the grant application, we need to demonstrate expanding services. We will, so this process is to help us apply for the grant. I can assure all of you, we will evaluate what options will be permitted in terms of this expansion of the service before implementation, or if we are awarded the grant. So I think at this point, we will, because it will have to come back to you to accept the grant, and then we can submit with the acceptance resolution, plan of implementation and the local cost portion and all of that before you vote to accept it. So so that will give us opportunity to propose to you various expansion options and the local cost portion of it for you to make decisions on.
Yeah, and we could put together different models, like
Absolutely.
based on your recommendation, so we can put together some side-by-side comparisons. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Does that suffice, Judith? Do you still want to make an amendment?
No, I'm satisfied.
Okay. Okay.
But Lee has a question.
Lee, you're killing me right now. Go ahead.
Just a point of order, then should there be a rewording of the fiscal target increase? Because ultimately that's where we're looking to potentially decrease the county share while increasing the service with some different capabilities. Are we committing ourselves by leaving the $490,000 in this resolution? Or, you know, I don't want to screw up the grant application when it gets to Albany if we can't meet what this resolution says. If you're looking to,
it does say up to $490,000 in the resolution.
Okay.
So it means we could spend less than that.
Okay.
Does that make you happy? I mean, no one's happy about $490,000, but
I don't know if it makes me happy, but I want it. I guess it sounds as though that some of our colleagues want to see some flexibility in how we apply this and not necessarily see the target increase by that amount on an annual basis. And I just want to make sure that we're not tying their hands in being able to make the application, or that we do have that flexibility if we are awarded the grant. And if we can't to the letter go to the 490, does the up to the 90 give you some flexibility in applying for this?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if that affects the grant. I mean, I'm willing to be flexible. I think, you know, there's some good recommendations here. You know, one of my follow-up questions would be, say we took one of our, like we just made the 3rd truck, that ALS unit, you know, would we still be then allowed to run that 124 hours a day as opposed to just the 12 hours a day, which is what we're currently doing? So I think that's why we, you know, probably put together some different models, but I don't know if that holds up this process. I don't really know. Sorry.
Corsa, do you have any?
Yes, I think, as you said, I believe that the up to hold us responsible on the amount. It doesn't necessarily need to be a target increase of 490. And yes, we are working on the target and what it means and how some department interpret it. So yes, there will be significant changes to some of our processes in terms of the definition of what the target means, as well as we go through some of our processes. So I understand it's stated here as a target, but it also gives us the flexibility in an event whereby, depending on the model that will be adopted, if it's 100,000, 200, or the 490,000, the flexibility still exists. And I expect that if we are awarded the grant, and in the process of accepting that grant, we will present the model, optional model for adoption. And hopefully by then, maybe we'll have also received the CON, and that means we can also count revenue in our projections in terms of the future plan.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Let's, all those in favor of Resolution P, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12. Yes, 2. Okay, that's 13-4, and that is unanimous.
15?
It would be 15.
Oh, sorry. 15, sorry. County schools are bad. Public education.
Texas.
Texas, yeah, Houston, Texas. Don't forget that. Yes.
Okay. Resolution D.
One more resolution, Trev.
That's the one that was pulled. All right. Resolution D? No, that's not the one that was pulled. Wasn't it C that was pulled?
It was D.
D? Approval of the Tompkins County Public Safety Radio Paging System Replacement, Department of Emergency Response, DOER, ID 14175. This is related to the legend. Be careful. Randy.
Yeah, and the legend seconds, Lee Shirtliff. Randy.
And actually, my question was answered by Travis earlier, is about the funding of it, and that there's this, a fund that's put aside specifically for this. And when we get to the point of other funds that are out there that are for specific things, I wasn't aware of this one. So it's great, and I know this is really important to the fire departments. I know Enfield, Newfield, all the ones I work with, they're really excited about getting updated equipment. So.
Yeah, that's great. Any other questions or comments? Greg?
Are our channels still all encrypted?
The only channels that are encrypted are the law enforcement channels, but everything else is open.
So any off-the-shelf scanner can listen to those?
Yes and no. We have an 800 megahertz trunking system, so the old Bearcat that you may have seen in your grandfather's house scanner
Any
won't
modern
work
scanner?
because it's so sophisticated. But there are trunking scanners that a person could purchase, but they're several $100s versus back in the day going to Radio Shack and an $89 scanner and listening. Those days have been over for 20 years. But the only channels that are encrypted right now in law enforcement, everything else fire EMS is open.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor of Resolution D, please raise your hand. Okay. That's everyone. That's unanimous. Thank you. Next, any other questions for Travis Brooks, Public Safety? Okay. Next, we're going to move to Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Veronica Pillar, Chair.
Thanks. I'm happy to go, but do you want to go back to peak?
Did you finish eating, Irene?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Irene Weiser, Chair of Peak.
It's a pretty quick report. We didn't meet this month. We'll be meeting the first Thursday of the coming month.
Okay.
So there you go.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Irene? Judith?
This is not a question. I just wanted to highlight the lake turned green a week or two ago, and there were a lot of questions about what that was. I think people were worried about harmful algal blooms, of which there have been plenty. But this was apparently, people think, a whiting event where calcium carbonate, which is basically ground up limestone, was precipitating in the water and reflecting the light in a way. And this can happen for reasons that people only sort of understand in lakes as a whole. So that's why the lake turned green. It was not a toxic algal bloom.
It was more turquoise than green.
It was beautiful.
It was.
Just like glacial lakes reflect light,
Exactly like
but also people should be aware of harmful algal blooms and check the CSI website to know where they are before they go into the water and learn how to recognize them.
Very good information. Yes. Okay. next is Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee, Veronica Pillar.
Thank you. I was going to say we hadn't met since our last meeting, but it's been a long time since our last meeting here, and we did meet more recently on June 22nd. The highlight of the meeting was we had Megan McDonald from the Department of Planning and Sustainability presenting on their equity indicator, which I think they've done to the program committee, but we're happy to bring it to WDIC as well. And their indicator is basically housing cost burden within the county, and she presented, we had good discussions about how it's measured, and all the ways to measure it are sort of messy and incomplete data because that is what you have when working with people and surveys and housing and things that don't fit into boxes. But I think it's a very salient indicator to follow, tracking an aspect of equity in our community. And I appreciate how it highlights, it's not something that our Department of Planning and Sustainability can just control on its own by any means, but they can do things, there are many factors that affect housing cost burden. And so it's worth tracking even while stuff that the department does is only a fairly small but hopefully meaningful portion of those factors. Let's see. That was the main meat of it. We are not going to meet in July. And so we will come back bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in August. In the meantime, we did appoint at the June meeting the working group for this year's Leslyn McBean Claiborne Strength and Diversity Award. So that side group will start on that process of collecting nominations for this year's hopeful awardee. Who will be added to the beautiful plaque that's now on the wall from last year. You can't see it online, but somewhere behind Dan.
Great. Any questions for Veronica? Or comments? Okay. Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee, Deborah Dawson, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We met last week and got the good news that Corsa has already shared with us. I have two resolutions. Resolution Q, adoption of the 2026-2027 operating budget, Tompkins Cortland Community College, ID 13984, and I move that.
Can I have a seconder? Dan Wakeman.
The good news is that there is no increase in the operating budget ask, and there will be, I think, an ask for support for the capital budget, but it will be relatively small. And that's about all I have.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Dr. Kriminek is also here from TC3 if there are any questions or comments.
She's invisible.
Yeah, Dan, seconded. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of Resolution Q, please raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you, Deborah.
And I have a second resolution that I'm going to have to take a deep breath to read. Okay, this is Resolution R, resolution of the Tompkins County Legislature as the elected legislative body of Tompkins County, New York, in accordance with Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended, approving the issuance of the Tompkins County Development Corporation of up to $35 million maximum aggregate stated principal amount tax-exempt revenue refunding bonds, parentheses, Ithaca College Project, Series 2026 in one or more series as part of a plan of financing, Doc ID 14201, and I so move.
Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Christie.
And this is a refinance by Ithaca College through the Tompkins County Development Corporation, which is a conduit to the tax-exempt bond market for certain 501c3 and other 501 organizations. This is called a TEFRA resolution, the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act of 1982, which regulates the approval process for tax-exempt bonds issued on behalf of certain organizations, including nonprofits. And the idea is that it requires notice and hearing in order to make the process transparent. This is pretty much a ministerial function of this legislature.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Deborah? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I got.
Okay, any questions for Deborah? Okay, moving on. Facilities and Infrastructure Committee, Lee Shurtleff, Chair.
Thank you. Facilities and Infrastructure met last Thursday, the 16th. And as you can tell from today's agenda or this evening's agenda, there are 15 resolutions that came out of that in the previous meeting. So you get a flavor for what was discussed. I want to thank Shauna for her mentioning of the airport good news, and Randy for outlining the geothermal project along with Terry, because that did constitute a bit of the time. Dan, I can't think of other highlights to mention other than to go to the resolutions.
The resolution should explain a whole lot.
Okay. If I could, I'll move to those. I want to start with M. I believe it was pulled. Frank Doldo has been waiting patiently here. And I would move Resolution M, adopting the Tompkins County Transportation Coordinated Plan 2026 to 2029, ID number 14167.
Seconded by Randy.
Yeah, I pulled this, sorry, Frank. But I thought we're adopting this policy, so I thought it was important that we talk about it a little bit. I thought that the report that was done was excellent, and it detailed everything that's going on in the plan. And I know it's something I believe you're submitting to the federal, is that state?
New York State Department of Transportation.
Okay. I appreciate all the work that was done on it. Unfortunately, Courtney's no longer with us, but I think that you guys have done a really good job with this, and I also appreciate all the various funding that you were able to get for things that you weren't sure you were going to get, like for the last mile. I think you got
first mile, last mile rights to recovery. We got $125,000 for each program.
Yep. So that's not coming out of our pockets. So. I thank you for all the work, and I'm sorry for keeping you late on this, but we're adopting this. I think it's a good plan.
Thank you. The state requires us to get the legislators to adopt the coordinated plan every 3 years.
Any questions for Deborah?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry to keep you there, Frank.
No, it's okay.
Since you're here, there's a whereas in here that says there are no financial implications associated with adopting this strategy, although implementation of the strategy is anticipated to have financial implications that would be reviewed by the legislature prior to implementation. I was just wondering if you could give us some examples of what those might be.
Sure. First, I want to say I had nothing to do with the plan. It was all Courtney Horner. She had over 70 participants, residents, seniors, people with disabilities, agencies. It was a great collaborative effort. The financial implications are the same when we get a grant, the legislators approve it. So the financial implications are simply whatever funding we get, legislators approved, and that will be the financial impact.
Okay, so it could be local match. Or is that something that's likely to be borne by TCAT and Gadabout?
It all depends on the funding. If you notice the resolutions that you recently passed, Gadabout would pay their local share, TCAT would pay their local share, and we would pay our local share.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Veronica.
Yeah, thanks for pulling this, Randy, because thank you for the report, or thanks to Courtney. When you say they're no longer with us, you just mean like employed at the county, right?
Well, Courtney took another position, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah. Well, shout out.
She's somewhere.
Yeah, shout out to Courtney, they did great. I wanted to lift up, maybe partly for Disability Pride Month, like Shauna proclaimed earlier, a lot of the sort of comprehensive discussion of barriers in here and the intersectionality of different barriers. I won't read any bits, but pages 14 to 17 of the report lists so many things that I haven't thought of, including a lot of ways in which, for a lot of people, getting to a single medical appointment can be like just a whole nightmare. And then I also appreciate that in addition to background, there's a lot of the specific action items, pages 25 to 26 of the report, nicely color coded. So, thank you.
Judith?
And a similar theme, this is really good reading for anybody, not just people interested in transportation. The whole first part is about sort of poverty, median income. It talks about how even though median income has gone up, it has gone up slower than inflation. And so people actually have less disposable income over time. I mean, it's really great background reading for anybody on the legislature or beyond. I think it's very thoughtful. It's a sort of view that we often don't get the chance to take. I think we feel it, like we feel it from our constituents that these things are true, that people are facing these barriers, that times are hard. But to see this analysis is actually really useful. I encourage everyone to read it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Sorry to keep you.
No, it's all good.
Okay, next up, Lee.
I'll move to Resolution S, authorizing an amendment
Today I'm switching up my brake caliper covers.
to the 2026-2030 capital plan and a contract with Barton LaJudas DPC for design and right-of-way services for Caroline Depot Road Culvert Project over 6 Mile Creek tributary, town of Caroline, ID number 14147. So moved.
Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Irene.
The highway was able to secure funding through the New York State DEC Water Improvement Quality Program, and this allows us to incorporate that into the capital budget. And the second part of the resolution allows us this year to move forward with design services through the contractor.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for Lee? Irene?
Yeah, I'm thrilled to see this happening. I drive over that bridge many times a week, and it really needs, or I guess it's not really a bridge, it's a culvert bridge, but anyhow, it's in sad shape, and it's good news that this will be moving forward. Do you have any idea when?
I think it begins the planning process, and there's right-of-way issues and so on that will have to be addressed, but I believe they want to move into it fairly quickly.
Like this year or next year?
Next year.
Next year, okay.
Design will take some time.
Okay. If they could, it also has a really kind of sharp curve that makes it kind of awkward. If they can smooth that out too as they rework it, that'd be great.
We'll pass that on at committee level.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's everyone. Thank you.
I'll move to Resolution T, Budget Adjustment, Highway Department, increase 2026-2027 Consolidated Highway Improvement Program CHIPS funding, ID number 14156.
Can I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Judith.
The state budget did allow for an increase in the anticipated CHIPS funding. That's the good news. The bad news is the Highway Department is struggling with fuel costs and the cost of materials and continued expense for asphalt and paving. So it's hopeful that this recognizing and using this funding will help us continue to pave as many miles as were anticipated in last year's budget deliberations.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous. That's everyone. Thank you.
Resolution U, renewal of Tompkins County Department of Motor Vehicles. Police, ID number 14159. And this went through review at 2 committee meetings. And,
You know what, let me get a seconder with Dan Wakeman.
Okay, and this went through review at 2 committee meetings, and of note is that this holds no rate increase for the first 3 years of the renewal. And Legislator Hunt raised some questions at the first meeting that county administration was able to address regarding maintenance at the facility.
Any other questions or comments? Veronica?
This reminds me that a constituent once asked if there could be a bike rack at the DMV, and that would be useful. So if you could pass that on to the landlord, that'd be cool. Don't require it in the lease, please.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Resolution V, authorization to enter into a multi-year intermunicipal shared services agreement with Schuyler County for snow and ice control, ID number 14198. So moved.
Seconded by Rachel.
Continues a cooperative agreement between the 2 counties, sharing of road maintenance and snow and ice. They cover some areas in Tompkins, we cover some areas in Schuyler to improve the efficiency of the running of the equipment.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you.
And I think we covered, W was pulled for further discussion at the budget, and X was acted upon earlier. So I think that completes what we need to do for F&I.
Thank you, Lee. Any questions for Lee? Or Dan? Okay. Next, we're going to move on to Government Operations Committee. Randy Brown, Chair.
Thank you. We did meet in July, and we had numerous discussions, and we had planned on having the New York State come to discuss the homestead assessment, but we had technical issues, so they couldn't join us. So that's going to be returned in September. We'll do that again. We had a good report from the Chief Equity and Diversity Officer. Leon did a great job, and he was very funny as well. Appreciate that, Joe. But he did a great job of sharing all the things that have happened in the 4 months that he's been here, and the various, I think, over 13 departments he's visited with, and so there's a handout, and I hope everybody got that electronically. If not, we'll make sure you do get that, because it showed all the things that have been happening, and it was great to see that. We also reviewed the social media policy, which has been updated quite a bit. In the packet, you'll see all the red marks, and then there's the full copy as well. A lot of discussion on social media policy, and it really is the responsibility of each individual department to kind of update their things and respond to that. I think we need probably to think about that a little more in the future on how many people are actually doing that process and the challenges they have. But I think the policy update was definitely needed. So I'm glad that was happening. And then we will meet again in August.
Great.
Do you have anything? Or?
You want to move your resolutions, or?
Actually,
yep.
It's only when we get to the social media resolution.
Okay. So the first resolution I have is Y. It's a resolution to update the Administrative Policy Manual Policy 01-52, Departmental Use, Administration of Social Media, ID 14199, and I move it.
Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Greg Mezzi. Judith?
One of the questions that came up about this policy, which I think is probably badly needed, is there's some set of statements about what kinds of comments can be removed from social media posts. And at least in the initial draft, it said that we could remove demonstrably false information that was intended to mislead or harm the public. And I raised a question of whether we could take out the intended to mislead or harm the public part, because you can't know what somebody's intention was when they were writing a comment, but you can know if the comment is demonstrably false. So we passed the policy as is, but asked that we get a legal review of what our possibilities were. So, hi, Maury.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Well, as I understand it, there were two issues like that. One was comments. One was comments, the way the policy reads now, comments seeking to incite unlawful activity or violence. And there was a question, could that be changed to comments that could incite unlawful activity or violence? I would recommend not making that change. It could be changed to comments that are reasonably likely to incite unlawful activity or violence, but saying comments that could incite unlawful activity or violence would be inconsistent with the Supreme Court's discussion of from Brandenburg versus Ohio about incitement to violence, which requires a threat of imminent lawless action, which includes both an intent component and a likelihood component. I think at least the likelihood component should be addressed. A statement that could, in this world, any statement could incite unlawful activity, or you could argue that any statement could incite unlawful activity or violence. The test always is in the application as opposed to the wording. So if somebody came and said, well, we need your advice, you know, is this a comment that could incite unlawful activity or violence? And if I were presented with that question, I would still apply the Brandenburg test. So, you know, is anybody going to, in First Amendment cases, there are two types of challenges. You could challenge the policy on its face, meaning the ACLU comes along and says, this is so horrible, we're going to challenge it on its face. I don't think anybody's going to look at our policy and do something like that. So it would be in the application. But if somebody did make a facial challenge based on changing this to that could, I think it would, put the policy at risk. But I would be comfortable recommending as an amendment comments reasonably likely to incite unlawful activity or violence. So that's one. The second one, demonstrably false information that could mislead or harm the public. My comment is similar, but the thing that's sort of that's counterintuitive about this is that lying is constitutionally protected. Communicating false information is constitutionally protected unless it falls into a particular category of illegality, and those are defamation, fraud, false advertising, perjury, things things for which there's a constitutional exception. And even in the case of defamation, if it's demonstrably false information about a public figure, there's a malice standard that applies, which there needs to be knowledge of falsity and reckless disregard for the truth, as opposed to negligence. So with respect to this one, if there's a comment that communicates demonstrably false information, the remedy that the Supreme Court talks about is more speech that corrects it. So I think the thing that would, that needs to be done there is if somebody posts a comment, the moderator, instead of taking the comment down, would respond to it. And there's a provision in the policy that allows for clarifications and such to be published. Again, I think that if we're focusing on a likelihood of misleading or harming the public, we could do that, which, again, we would say demonstrably false information, reasonably likely to mislead or harm the public. But even so, we would need to be cautious about taking down comments as opposed to clarifying or posting a clarifying message for those. So I think at the end, my recommendation is for each of the that coulds that we wanted to do, we do a reasonably likely to. Instead of that, that I think would be acceptable, but I think using that could makes it too open-ended in terms of potentially suppressing protected speech.
That is exactly kind of what I thought my proposed phrasing might cause. So thank you for providing this alternate language. I would suggest a revision, an amendment to the policy.
Can you tell us what page and paragraph and all that?
Well.
And the wording.
Yes, let me see if I can do that. There are little line numbers on this document. We had line numbers previously, but on packet page 122, at the top there are bullet points, and one of them says, demonstrably false information intended to mislead or harm the public. And I would propose that we revise that to demonstrably false information that is reasonably likely to mislead or harm the public. There is...
Wait 1 second. Is that friendly to the
That's
mover
friendly.
and seconder? Okay, thank you. Is that unfriendly to anyone? Okay, thank you.
On packet page 124, there's a statement about removing comments containing defamation against a person, either as determined by a court, or comments that contain factual statements that are demonstrably false. That one doesn't include the intent, so I guess I'll just leave that one. Was there a second place?
Yeah, the other place that Maury talked about is page 121, the bullets on the bottom, that first bullet.
Yes. Comments seeking to incite unlawful activity or violence is what it currently reads. I propose that we revise that to comments that are reasonably likely to incite unlawful activity or violence.
Is that friendly to the mover and seconder? Okay, thank you. Is that unfriendly to anyone? Okay, thank you. I actually am glad that we're doing the work on this, because what I noticed during COVID was that our health department would put something up that was super helpful about COVID and the facts, and then you would have people either in our community or not in our community that were putting very false information, and it became very confusing, and then it just became a massive debate on horse tranquilizers, or hydroxychloroquine or whatever. And so I think it's important to get the information across. Maury, I guess the question that I have is, at any given point, if the moderator notices that the conversation is taking a spiral to a wrong direction, can they cut off the comments? Can they stop the comments?
The better way to do that would be if you know or reasonably anticipate that a particular post is going to lead to that type of commentary. This came up with vaccination comments, where there would just be inundation with, if the word vaccine was in there, there'd be thousands of comments on topic, off topic, and really messy. So when you know you have one of those, it's okay to turn off comments, because, it's just a message that, here's a health alert, here's another health alert. And even though comments are turned off, there's still the response aspect of the website where somebody who's reading it could communicate directly with somebody at the Department of Health saying, well, I disagree with it because of X, Y, and Z. And that way the issue could be addressed without, completely destroying the message, the beneficial message that was intended to go out with the post. I think turning off comments is, it's an approach that should be used sparingly if we generally accept comments on things, but it is okay to turn off comments.
Judith?
Thanks for saying that, Shauna and Maury. I appreciate everybody's patience with these, what seem like very minor modifications to a very lengthy document. But I work in my professional life. I interact with social media and news and things like that, and these things can get really messy. So it's good to have, I think, a very clear policy. We also, before we vote on this, I just want to say we asked that we develop a policy also around what types of social media platforms we use, because that currently doesn't exist. You know, there's a lot of different, an evolving set of social media platforms out there, and I think we want to be thoughtful in how we engage with the public on these platforms and what audiences we're trying to reach and whether there's a lot of misinformation on specific platforms and not others. So hopefully we'll see some of that coming in the future.
Dan?
At the PIAB, the Public Information Advisory Board meeting, there was a little bit of discussion about this. And I'm not regularly that deep in social media, but it was pointed out that there are different target audiences that use different platforms. So we can't, uniformly say only this platform or that platform, but with the different departments might choose different platforms to target the people they need to target. So I think this is flexible in that regard.
Great. Do we have a TikTok account?
I asked what platforms we're on, and TikTok was not listed. But of course, if we want to reach younger audiences, that might be where we want to be.
Forward to your weekly TikToks, Shauna.
Yeah.
At the same time,
I know. Shauna's been mulling this for years.
I know. I remember asking Dominic whenever he came for his interview for director of communications if he knew how to do TikTok. That's whenever it just started, or whenever I just started, like 3 years ago. And he was like, oh yeah, we've got TikTok. And that never happened. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there can be a lot of benefits to these platforms, but also our staff have limited capacity and time and attention, and we don't want to get dragged into something where people are spending a huge amount of time on social media posts at the expense of the real work that needs to get done in departments. The other thing I asked about is whether we spend any money on promoting our posts, which is something that happens on social media, and we did not get an answer, but hopefully we will. That is something that I think also should be subject to some kind of policy, if that's, it can be a very effective way of communicating to specific target groups, but at the same time, it's part of the budget.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions or comments? Maury?
Yeah, I was just going to say in relation to Judith's comment that this policy, along with some others that are, somewhat related to it, like the AI policy, probably need to be reviewed more than every 5 years, even though, it would probably say the next review is in 2029 or 2031. We're probably going to have to look at this sooner.
Yeah. Great. Okay, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's everyone. Thank you.
And I have one more resolution, and we use the whole alphabet up. I don't know if we've done that before or not. This is Z. The adoption of local law number C of 2026, allowing for the continuation of the county holding virtual public meetings until July 15th, 2028, ID 14082, and I move that.
Seconded by Travis. And who would like to speak? Greg?
This is a good thing. This ensures that if stuff happens in life, which we all know that it does, that we can continue to represent those that elected us to represent them and share their voice through the process. It still requires that we have a quorum in chambers. It still requires all of the things that we've been through. It still has to be for one of the approved reasons. I think this is a good and an expansion of government that makes sense to create greater access for representation. So not sure why anybody would consider not voting for this.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor for Resolution Z, please raise your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you. Anything else, Randy?
That's it.
Okay, any questions or comments for Randy? Next, any individual member filed resolutions? Nope. And we have minutes of our previous meeting, June 16th, 2026. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Travis, seconded by Veronica. Any corrections, comments, changes? Okay, all those in favor for the minutes, please raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous. Any unfinished business? Okay, There being no further business before this body, this meeting is adjourned.
I think he has further
Wow,
business.
congratulations. You ran
Sorry, we're adjourned, Corsa. No.
the alphabet.